It's about what the bottom do just as strong as what he done. That's why he got killed. But I think there's something we should analyze too is how was he able to be killed the way he was killed, man? We didn't protect our delivery. That's what he was for. We didn't protect him the way we should have. One, he should never have come out on that balcony. And number two, how did the shooter know where to set up at and what hotel he was going to be at when I was in his inner circle? One was a new, and that's the last man. But right quick before you cut me in, I'm calling to make it this right here where if there was a land that was opening up to us for us to be migrated to, because everyone in our position through our history, part two was a lead the land on the oppressors. Would you be against that?
Well, the first question is on that, Frank, and thank you for your call, is that Abraham Lincoln and others tried that. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't study history. Lincoln tried to send the freed slaves to the Caribbean. Then he tried Haiti, and it did not work. Then many became expatriates in Liberia. Mm-hmm. So first of all, when you say if it could happen, it was attempted. It did not happen. Secondly, now you're talking about, according to them, 35 million people, and most of the nations that are controlled by us are under siege and could not take 5 million people, let's alone 35. So I think that would be a second problem. I'll put it that way. Thirdly, all of us are not going to go. You still are going to have to deal with, say, Frank, that they opened up Nation A and 5 million of us went. Mm-hmm. You still going to have to deal with how the 25 million left here are treated and how they're going to be dealt with. Because you and I know that most of us are not going to go. So that would be my response to that.
You know, I'm also reminded of when Marcus Garvey created the Black Star Line. Yeah. You know, Marcus Garvey was trying to get African Americans to return to Africa, and that was an effort where he was building an actual ship line that was it was called I think it was the Back to Africa movement.
Right.
And it was a business that he was creating to try to, in the early 1900s, serve as a gateway, if you will, to get Black people, African American, back to the homeland. But it actually proved not to be very productive and frankly very profitable because partly African Americans didn't want to return. And then there was this whole question of, well, what is our homeland and what is the connection and the nexus?
Absolutely. Let's go to Dorothy in North Carolina on Sirius XM 126.
Hi, Reverend Al. Hi to you and your guests.
Hi.
Hi. I saw the tribute there for Dr. King over the yesterday. They were quite nice. Dr. King, and to me, he was a great man. And what touched me so much yesterday too is they were interviewing Jesse Jackson, and he was talking about how young he was, and his voice broke, and he couldn't talk no more. He fought for as hard as he could for our rights, our respect for ourselves. And I want to say that I always remember something that I learned from my history book tells me. The Emancipation Proclamation freed us. We're not slaves anymore. And also, we have the right to vote. You cannot keep trying to trick us. You cannot. This state does that. They do a lot of trickery here in North Carolina. You're never going to trick me. I'm always going to vote. And I'm always going to get other people to vote.
God bless you. Thank you, Dad. You know, the pain that she saw and that she shared, when I got to Atlanta, Jenny, I looked at Christine Ferris, who is the sister of Martin Luther King, his only sister, still alive, still very spry and very elegant. I thought about she saw her brother shot down and killed. Her other brother drowned. A lot of people forget Reverend A.D. King. was killed in his own swimming pool under very suspicious circumstances a couple of years after Martin Luther King was killed. This is their brother. And she saw her mother playing the organ in church one morning, right there. Dr. King and Mrs. King is buried right next to the original Ebenezer, where the King Center is. And her mother was playing the organ, and a man walked to the church and blew her brains out. And as I looked at her and all the pain she went through in her immediate family, as well as King's kids, lost their father, lost their uncle, lost their grandmother. Oh, the things that they had to endure is representative of the pain that we've all had to endure in many ways in our families. Yet we've found the strength to keep going. And I think that sometimes we don't step back because we engage so much in day-to-day survival that we don't ever assess what we've been able to withstand. And we're stronger than we give ourselves credit for, because by any measure, many of us shouldn't have been able to survive in our right mind. When people were talking to me as I was traveling since the funeral in Sacramento last week about, I saw you out there at the funeral on the news and that young man has issues. And I said, this young man lost his brother. This young man saw his brother laying there, 20 bullets fired at him. And you act like he's supposed to have a normal reaction. What's normal to that? I mean, why wouldn't you assume he was traumatized? Why wouldn't you assume if he had issues, just pull him over the edge? Why are we judging him rather than his reaction to what was done? And I think that a lot of times we don't stop and measure. Well, one of the great honors in my life is being able to, as a student and coming out of the King movement, is work with the King family. Imagine what they had to endure. I looked at Dr. King's granddaughter, who was with us all day. She's got to grow up with that name and that lineage and that banner all of her life, and she never had for it.
And she got to carry it by herself.
Got to carry it. She's the only grandchild so far. I look at even my own daughters. They didn't choose to be what I chose to be a public figure.
Right.
They will always have to bear whatever it is that my reputation and legacy become. And people have to give you room for that. And that's why, I try to help them. They don't do whatever they want to do, but try to help them because they inherited something they didn't ask for. I kind of take the brick brats because I asked for it.
Right.
They did. The King children didn't ask for that. And others. And I'm not comparing myself to King, but I'm saying at whatever level of service, your father, major minister, and a civil rights leader, you were born into, you didn't ask for that. And I think that we become so insensitive to the prices that was paid for us and act like, well, they just, no, it's all right. It's not all right. And it's something that at least if you don't agree with the philosophy, the man died. The man lost his life taking care of other people. Respect that. And that's why it just enrages me when I had people down Dr. King or Malcolm, and I was not in the Malcolm movement. They died. They did something you would not do. At least respect their sacrifice, even if you didn't agree with their tactics. You sitting around enjoying whatever your life is and scorn people that gave up their life so you could have that job sitting at the cubicle listening to me right now or live in that house
Right.
I mean, nobody invited you to Hempstead, New York or Lithonia, Georgia. People fought so you'd have the right to get out there, and you sitting up there in those houses critiquing them.
Absolutely.
How ungrateful and low down can you be?
And I'll add critiquing them and then also critiquing persons like you saying, well, you're over here doing this, but why aren't you over here doing that? Right? So you get to sit in your lofty ivy tower, you get to sit in your beautiful multi-million-dollar home and say, well, why aren't you over here working on education? Why aren't you over here working on this particular issue? Meanwhile, they're sitting there not doing anything. something that just jumped in my head that I'd never thought about before. As you reminded me that yesterday you were with the King family, but less than a week ago you were with Stephen Clark's family. And I can't help but see a parallel there in that, you know, you've mourned King, but you served in King's footsteps. And every time you go to funeralize someone who's lost their life tragically and unnecessarily, a Black individual, it is yet another reminder of the work that must continue because of what King fought for, the inequalities and the persistent inequalities. You did that.
Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Keeping it real. Jones Austin right after this.